Dr. Viazzi, thank you for watching this video. I wanted to make this video because I feel like there has been a little bit of confusion and a little bit of emotion over the last couple of weeks, especially on our side. I believe you gave some news to my father through Aleph, and my dad had a very defensive response to that. Now, I don't think that that's okay by any means, but I wanted to explain some of the things and clear up some of the issues about why I think my dad had this defensive response. So he mentioned that you said that we had the approach was wrong and that we had a training-based market share adoption strategy. And while I think that was true at some points, for the last 18 months, that's not true. And I kind of want to explain what we've been doing over here. So also, I believe that there's an impression that we have not been selling as much because our buying volume has not been up to your standards. Now, the reason why our buying volume has not been high is a simple matter of supply and demand. My parents started off with a supply of around 600 to 700 cases, which is a lot. Now, the demand was unknown, and it took us a long time to sell through that inventory, not because we weren't selling, but because I think the input was high. So in 2016, I came on towards the end of the year. The business processes at that time were not strong enough to be able to track how many we sold in 2016, but in 2017, we sold 324 cases. In 2018, thus far, we've sold 255 cases. Now, we sold that in a 6-month period. June 2018, we had what's called Address Armageddon, where we hadn't imported for 2.5 years, and we found that our import addresses were all screwed up. And for the last 5 months, we have been undoing our address screw-ups. So we haven't been able to import, we haven't been able to sell for the last 5-6 months. It's been horrible. But one of the things that we had invested in at the beginning of the year was a sales technology called a CRM, as well as a presentation room small batch sales approach. We had made these investments in Q1, and we were hoping to have these things ready to roll out Q3. And we think had these investments happened, and there was no Address Armageddon, we think we would have done far better than 255 in Q3, Q4 this year. We think we would have had much more growth than that. We think we would have sold perhaps 300, maybe even 350 Q3, Q4 this year. And I think we would have sold, again, around 600, 650 year to date. Now, you look at these numbers, these are actually pretty good numbers. I asked you and Aleph who your best buyer was in April, and you said, forget the doctor's name, but you said he was buying around 800 annually. We're not far off from that number. Now, how are we going to achieve this type of growth, and why do I think we can be your largest buyer next year? The CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. Now, this is why we definitely do not have a training-based market adoption strategy. We are actually creating a very aggressive sales market adoption strategy, which is what you want to hear, and I'm going to show you what our plan is. So the CRM uses what's called sales pipelines to manage touch points along a customer journey. So with the sales pipeline, you're able to get salesperson lead management, so salespeople are able to manage their leads. You get revenue forecasting, revenue projection, and you get salesperson performance metrics. Now, the CRM that we're using utilizes a Kanban system. So, give this example, new doctor pipeline. We have 6 different customer stages or touch points. So a salesperson is able to see how many doctors are in any given stage at any moment. They're able to open up these contacts, and and as a manager, I'm able to go and see, hey, how can we move how can we move Dr. Becky down the line to close? Now, our CRM utilizes four pipelines: a new doctor's pipeline, a training pipeline. Once a doctor's trained, they go through a pipeline called first bracket sale pipeline, where we make sure that once a doctor's trained, we want to get them to their first bracket sale. And after that, we have our larger bracket sales pipeline, then that's for just existing business. So they're going to grab a chair. Now, I want to show you what the revenue forecasting looks like within our CRM. Essentially, our CRM has sales categories, which are called pipeline, best case, commit, close. Now, this is for management's ability to see where money is at any given point in your sales pipelines. So, for example, we have our new doctor's pipeline, our training pipeline, our first bracket sale pipeline, and our bracket sale pipeline. Now, as a manager, I can look at our new doctor's pipeline, and it looks like, okay, so we have 100K here, we have 0 in best case, 30K in commit, 300K in close. So the new doctor team seems like they're getting a lot of things to close, so I'm happy with that. Our training pipeline, it looks like we have a lot of doctors at the early stages of their training, not a lot towards the end. So that's good to know that for predicting, I can assume that we'll have a little more money to reinvest in, say, marketing towards the end of the year, not so much for a while. First bracket sale pipeline, it looks like there's a lot so I can tell that this team has done well. They've been getting a lot towards the commit, but there's not a lot in close, so I gotta go to this salesperson and say, hey, how can we get your commits to some closes? Now, our bracket sales pipeline will always be our biggest pipeline, because that's where our biggest pool is. So there's going to be a lot of Thai bought in this pipeline. So this is a modern sales tool technology. This is going to be a modern sales approach. We have 6 touch points in our new doctor's pipeline, 7 in our training pipeline, 8 in our first bracket sale pipeline, and 5 in our bracket sale pipeline. So from the first time we introduce ourselves to our doctors, all the way to their second bracket purchase, there's 26 touch points that we're managing, and we're also receiving metrics on. So not only is this going to be an aggressive approach, it's also going to be a very analytical sales approach. Now, one of the lessons that we also learned was that the large event sales approach in Thailand does not work. Why? Thai doctors, on average, have about 30 to 40 minutes of questions and objections. And unless you can answer those questions and objections within the first presentation, Thai doctors can walk away very judgmental. If your presentation didn't answer their questions and their objections, which are almost very difficult during your presentation, they can walk away with a large degree of skepticism, and it's really hard to reapproach those doctors who have already been presented to. Now, this is why the large event approach was challenging. So let's say we had 30 doctors. Each of those doctors has about 30 minutes of questions. So that's 900 minutes. So in a presentation, we don't have 900 minutes of questions afterwards. So these doctors were just walking away, and we'd maybe field 10 to 20% of the doctors with these questions, and our conversion rate was around 10 to 20%. So our idea was, the solution was a Fastbraces presentation room, and that's what we're in right now. Now the furniture has been spec'd out. We have a really cool Thai furniture company that's going to be producing this stuff, but we're going to create a room that establishes super credibility, a controlled sales environment, small batch lead flow and objection overcoming, flexible scheduling. Thai dentistry is extremely difficult to schedule around. Getting Thai doctors' room is very difficult. So with the sales approach, the plan is invite doctors to our room, establish super credibility. There's only 3 or 4 doctors at a time, round table, we present, we handle the doctors as if they're first class VIPs, we sign them up, and then we follow up. And that's how, between the CRM and our presentation room, we felt very, 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 very confident that we would have the growth numbers in Q3, Q4 that we were expecting. So the question is, what's going to happen in 2019? Now, our US FDA license expires December 26th. I think it's in 50 days. So it's hard to us to know what to do at this point. So my call to action to you, Dr. Viazzi, is this. Please help us expedite our US FDA license resubmission. My other call to action to you is, I understand that you think that our approach has not been successful thus far, but I ask for your understanding with the fact that given our supply, given our demand, that we were kind of in a situation where it was going to take some time. I ask for your patience. And I believe that with our modern sales tool, 2019 could be very exciting. On top of that, I believe that with this sales approach, it's not a training-based sales approach, it's an aggressive sales approach, but it's also a very scalable sales approach. I'm not trying to just sell brackets in Thailand. I'm trying to just sell brackets everywhere. And it's very easy to transport these sales pipelines cross borders. So I think it's not only in our best interest for us to continue through and keep fighting through these sales approaches, but I also think it's worthwhile to give us some patience to let us fight through. Anyways, Dr. Viazzi, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I really appreciate your time. Again, please help us expedite our US FDA. My mom is ready to help Aleph do everything. Aleph has gone through the process before. The other thing I want to explain to you is, I don't know very many men on this earth that have more dollars invested in Fastbraces than Tom Nimi. And I know that that's tough for him. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, Dr. Viazzi, thanks for your time. Happy Friday. Have a nice weekend.